I didn't expect to be standing there, staring at the woman I married, frozen in disbelief as she opened her purse. But that's exactly where I was. I stood in the corner of Jenny's living room, out of sight, but close enough to see her. My wife, Victoria, was casually chatting with her friends at the baby shower. I wasn't supposed to be there, but that's when I found it. The thing that shattered the fragile reality I'd spent years building. I had been working from home all day, and Victoria had gone out to Jenny's baby shower, something she'd been talking about for weeks. To be honest, I didn't care much for those events. I knew it would be full of baby talk, games, and giggling about diapers. I had no interest in it. So, when she left the house around noon, I didn't think anything of it. I stayed behind to finish some work, enjoying the silence. But something changed at 3 p.m. when I got the call from my mom. She was in town for the day, and she wanted to stop by. I told her to come over, and we were sitting in the living room chatting when my phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. It was a strange message, nothing too alarming at first. "Hey babe, I left my purse in the car. Can you bring it to me? It's in the back seat." Now, you might think there's nothing strange about this, but it was the way she phrased it. Victoria never forgets anything, especially her purse. So, why would she need it from the car? It didn't sit right with me, but I shrugged it off. I assumed maybe she was just being forgetful. I grabbed my keys and headed out to the car, but as I walked past the living room window, I caught a glimpse of her phone sitting on the coffee table. Without thinking, I grabbed it. I didn't intend to snoop, but as I unlocked the screen, something caught my eye, a text from a contact named Adam. My stomach sank. It wasn't just any text. It was one of those texts that made your heart stop. It was a picture of her, smiling, but it wasn't the picture that got to me. It was the caption beneath it. "I miss you. I can't wait to see you again. Tonight?" I felt a chill run through me. I tried to shake it off. It didn't mean what I thought it meant, right? She was just joking around. Maybe a friend, maybe someone she worked with. But something deep inside me screamed that this wasn't just friendly banter. I was wrong, and I knew it. I shoved the phone back on the table and rushed to the car to grab her purse. My hands shook as I approached it, but I told myself it was nothing. Maybe it was all just a misunderstanding. I told myself I had no right to feel the way I did. When I arrived at Jenny's house, the atmosphere was light and joyful. I walked into the living room and made my way to where Victoria was standing, laughing with her friends. She didn't see me at first, but when she turned, I could see the surprise in her eyes. She was genuinely caught off guard. "Oh, hey, what's up?" she said, smiling and trying to act casual, but I could tell she was forcing it. "I've got your purse," I said, holding it out, trying to sound nonchalant. But my mind was racing. I wanted to ask her about Adam, to confront her right then and there, but I couldn't. I wasn't sure if I had the right to. So, I kept quiet, handed her the purse, and watched as she took it from my hands. She gave me a quick peck on the cheek. "Thanks, babe. You're the best," she said, not really meeting my eyes. I was about to turn and leave when I saw her open her purse, casually rummaging through it. She was searching for something, probably her phone. And then it happened. She stopped. For a split second, her hand froze, and her face went pale. She had something in her hand, a small piece of paper, folded, and tucked in the corner of the purse. She didn't notice I saw it, but I did. It was a receipt, but not just any receipt. It was from a jewelry store I didn't recognize, and the total amount, 4 figures. I stood there stunned. I had to force myself to breathe. "Victoria," I began, my voice barely audible. She turned to me, her hand still clutching the receipt. Her eyes widened, and the smile she had on just seconds ago disappeared. For a brief moment, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. But then, she quickly shoved the receipt back into her purse, as if it didn't mean anything. As if I wouldn't notice. "What's wrong?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She quickly regained composure, but I could tell it was a struggle. "Nothing," she said, her voice too high-pitched. "It's just a receipt for some jewelry I was looking at for myself. Nothing to worry about." I wasn't sure if she was trying to convince me or herself, but I wasn't buying it. I knew something was wrong. That jewelry store receipt wasn't just a random mistake, and that Adam text wasn't either. There was something more going on, and I couldn't ignore it. But as I stood there, frozen in the tension of the moment, I couldn't bring myself to say anything else. I couldn't ask her the one question I needed to ask. "Who is Adam, Victoria?" Instead, I just nodded. "Okay, I'll leave you to it then." But before I turned to walk away, I saw it. In the corner of the purse, partially hidden under some receipts, my ring. The ring I had given her when we got married. It wasn't just a symbol of our commitment anymore. It was an ironclad reminder of everything I thought we had, and now, everything that was falling apart in front of me. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as I made my way to the door. I didn't know what to say, or even what I was going to do with the truth I had just uncovered. All I knew was that nothing would ever be the same again. I didn't expect to be so shaken. I'd handed her the purse, and she'd given me that sweet, almost dismissive smile, but inside, my stomach was in knots. I felt like a stranger in my own marriage. Everything was off, but I couldn't figure out why. Was I overreacting? Should I just let it go? The receipt, the text from Adam, my own wedding ring buried at the bottom of her purse. I couldn't ignore any of it. Victoria had gone back to chatting with her friends, laughing like nothing had happened. But I wasn't ready to leave. Not yet. Something gnawed at me. I needed to know what I was missing. I told myself I wasn't going to ask, that I'd just go back home and forget about it. But my feet moved toward her purse again, as if on their own accord. It was almost like I couldn't stop myself. I reached for it, glancing quickly around the room to make sure no one noticed. Her purse was still open, and she was too busy with her friends to care. I quickly scanned through it again, more carefully this time, not giving a damn about privacy. I was beyond that point. There it was, tucked beneath a few crumpled napkins and receipts, a small envelope. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew that. But my hand betrayed me. I slid it out, and in the brief seconds before she could notice, I had already ripped it open. Inside was a photograph, a picture of her and Adam, holding each other close. She was smiling, too brightly, too happily. They looked comfortable, familiar. And that wasn't even the worst part. In the corner of the photo was a date from only 2 days ago. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just a friendly hangout. This was something deeper. The image was crystal clear in my mind. Victoria, my wife, was keeping something from me, something huge. I could feel the anger rising, but I pushed it down. I wasn't going to lose control here, not in front of all these people. I folded the photo quickly and shoved it back into the envelope. My head was spinning. It wasn't just a receipt anymore. It was a message, an undeniable truth. Victoria had been hiding something from me, something I didn't want to believe but couldn't deny. I stood there, trying to gather myself. A part of me wanted to confront her right then and there, to demand answers. But another part of me, the part that still loved her, was terrified of what the truth might be. Would she deny it? Would she make up some excuse that I would have to pretend to believe? I couldn't take that. I glanced at her, still laughing with her friends, completely oblivious to the storm that was brewing inside me. My hand tightened around the strap of her purse. Was she planning on telling me about this? Or was I just another fool in her secret world? I turned and walked toward the door, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't stay here any longer. I needed to get out. I needed space to think, to breathe. But before I left, my eyes landed on the one thing I couldn't ignore. Her wedding ring, still on her finger. It gleamed under the soft light of the room, a symbol of everything I thought we had. But in that moment, it felt like a lie. I couldn't get the image of the photo out of my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with him. That smile, genuine, almost too comfortable. I had seen that smile before, but never like that. It was as if I didn't even know her anymore. It wasn't just about the photo. It was the fact that she had hidden it so carefully, like she was expecting me to never find out. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. She was lying to me. I left Jenny's house as quickly as I could without drawing attention. My hands were shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. My mind was racing. I had to know more, had to understand what was really going on. Was this a one-time thing? Or had there been more? I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been building up for a long time, and I had been too blind to see it. I drove aimlessly for a while, trying to clear my head, but it was no use. I kept thinking about that photo, about the date on it. 2 days ago. That meant she had lied to me when she told me she was working late. And what about the ring? The one she had casually dropped into her purse earlier? Was that just a random oversight? Or did it mean something more? Was it a reminder of our vows? Or a symbol of something she no longer cared about? I pulled into a parking lot and sat there for a while, trying to catch my breath. The last thing I wanted was to go home and face her. But I knew I had to. I couldn't keep running from this. I had to confront her. I had to know what the hell was going on. When I finally got back to the house, I could hear her in the kitchen, moving around. The sound of her humming along to some song she had on was almost mocking in that moment. I stood at the door for a moment, just listening, trying to calm myself. How was I going to approach this? How could I ask her about Adam without sounding like I was accusing her of something I wasn't sure about? I took a deep breath and walked in. She was standing at the counter, chopping vegetables, a glass of wine in hand. She looked up, smiled, and said, "Hey, babe. How was your drive?" It should have been normal, but it wasn't. It felt wrong. Her smile was too forced. She could tell something was off, but she didn't know I knew. Yet. Fine. I muttered, walking past her and into the living room. I couldn't look at her. Not yet. I needed a moment to gather my thoughts. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice now laced with a hint of concern. It felt almost fake, as if she was trying to act normal, trying to keep up the charade. "I'm fine," I said, not turning to face her. I needed time to figure out how to get the truth out of her. My mind kept flashing back to the photo, to the receipt, to everything that felt wrong. She followed me into the living room, still holding her glass of wine. "You seem off. What's going on?" I looked at her then, really looked at her. I could see the effort she was putting into being casual, pretending nothing was wrong. But I knew better. I had seen the signs. "I think we need to talk," I said quietly, my voice steady, though my heart was pounding in my chest. Her face froze for a second, just long enough for me to notice. She put the wine glass down on the coffee table and sat down on the couch beside me. "What's on your mind?" I looked her in the eye. "Who's Adam?" The question hung in the air like a bomb, ready to explode. She froze again, this time longer, her eyes widening for the briefest moment before she quickly looked away. It was an instinctive reaction. The kind of reaction a guilty person has when they're caught off guard. I don't know what you mean," she stammered, but the panic was evident in her voice. "Don't lie to me, Victoria," I said, my voice rising slightly. "I saw the text. I saw the photo. 2 days ago. You and Adam. And I saw the receipt for the jewelry store." She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, not meeting my gaze. "Malcolm, it's not what you think," she said, her voice soft, almost pleading. But I didn't buy it. I leaned forward, my elbows resting on my knees. "Then what is it, Victoria? What the hell is going on?" For a long moment, she didn't answer. It was like she was trying to figure out how to lie her way out of this. But the silence between us grew louder with every second. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, the anger building inside me. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just supposed to be just a one-time thing. But it's not like you think, I swear." I could feel my blood boil. I wanted to scream, to yell, to throw everything at her. But I didn't. I kept my composure. "So you've been lying to me, then? All this time, you've been seeing him behind my back." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached for her wine glass, taking a long sip before setting it back down. "I'm sorry, Malcolm. I never wanted to hurt you. But Adam and we've been seeing each other for months." My chest tightened as the words sunk in. Months. That was the moment everything cracked wide open. I wanted to walk away, to escape the suffocating truth, but I couldn't. I needed to hear it all. "Why, Victoria? Why would you do this to us?" I asked, barely able to keep my voice steady. She finally met my gaze, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and fear. I don't know. I don't know why it happened. But I never meant for it to get this far." I couldn't breathe. Her words hung in the air like smoke, choking the life out of me. Months. It kept echoing in my mind, drowning out everything else. She had been seeing him for months, behind my back, while I was here, thinking everything was fine. But it wasn't. It wasn't even close. I stood up from the couch, unable to stay still. My hands were shaking, my thoughts all over the place. I could feel the anger rising inside me, burning my insides like acid. How could she do this to me? To us? I turned away from her, needing some space, needing to breathe. "Why?" I asked, my voice rough. "Why didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you leave if you were unhappy?" She was silent for a moment, then spoke in a voice so small it almost broke me. "I didn't know how. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could handle it, keep it hidden, but I can't anymore. I'm sorry, Malcolm." The apology felt empty, hollow. It wasn't enough. It could never be enough. My mind flashed back to all the moments we had shared, all the times I thought we were happy. Were they lies too? Every smile, every touch, every I love you. Was it all just an act? I turned back to face her, my chest tight. You thought you could handle it? You thought I wouldn't notice? How long were you planning on keeping this from me? She stood up then, her face flushed with shame. I didn't plan it this way. It just happened. Adam and I. She paused, searching for the right words, but none of them seemed to fit. We connected. It wasn't supposed to mean anything, but it did. The words stung. So what? This whole time, I've just been the guy at home, while you were with him. My voice cracked as I said it. I couldn't hide the hurt. It felt like she had ripped everything away from me. She took a step forward, her eyes pleading for understanding. Malcolm, I never meant to hurt you. I swear, I didn't want this. But I couldn't stop it. And I'm sorry. But sorry wasn't enough. Sorry couldn't fix this. I had trusted her with everything. My heart, my life. And she had shattered it all. I don't even know who you are anymore, I said, the words coming out colder than I meant. Her face fell, and I could see the regret in her eyes, but it wasn't enough. Not this time. I understand if you need space, Malcolm, she whispered. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll try. I'll do anything. But I didn't answer her. I couldn't. What was there to say? How could I fix something that was already broken beyond repair? As I stood there, the weight of the situation crushing me, I knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same again. The silence between us was unbearable. I could feel the weight of her apology hanging in the air, but it didn't lift the crushing pressure on my chest. Everything I thought I knew, every single part of our life together, had just shattered in front of me. Victoria, the woman I had married, had betrayed me in a way I couldn't have imagined. The idea of her with someone else, sharing moments I thought were ours, was enough to drive anyone mad. I walked away from her, pacing the room as if the motion could somehow clear my mind. I needed space. My body felt like it was suffocating from all the questions, all the anger, the confusion. How long? I asked again, even though I already knew the answer. She hesitated, as if it pained her to admit the truth. It started a few months ago. We ran into each other at work, and it just happened. I didn't want it to, but it did. A few months. I was in disbelief. This wasn't some fleeting mistake. This wasn't a one-time slip. She had been with him, Adam, for months. And I had been here, believing everything was fine, working late, trusting her. My mind kept replaying that text message. I miss you. I can't wait to see you again. How could she look me in the eyes every day and pretend everything was normal while hiding this affair? I stopped pacing and turned to face her. You think this can be fixed? That we can just pretend this never happened? I shook my head in disbelief. I've spent so many years loving you, trusting you. And now I find out this. My voice cracked, and I hated myself for sounding so weak, but I couldn't help it. What do you expect me to do with this? How do I even begin to forgive you? Victoria looked down at the floor, wringing her hands together. Her eyes were red, and I could see the tears starting to well up again, but it didn't matter. It wasn't about her tears anymore. It wasn't about her regret. It was about the betrayal. I don't expect forgiveness, Malcolm. I know I don't deserve it. But I just wanted you to know the truth. I never meant to hurt you. The truth. I repeated, laughing bitterly. Is that what this is? The truth? Because I don't think I've heard it yet. I could feel my anger building again, but this time, it was different. It wasn't just anger. It was a mixture of hurt, confusion, and fear. I was terrified. Terrified of losing everything. Terrified of not being enough, of not being the person she needed me to be. She reached out, her hand trembling, but I stepped back. Don't, I said sharply. Don't touch me. I could see her flinch, but she didn't argue. She just stood there, looking like she was about to crumble under the weight of everything. I knew she was sorry, but her apology wasn't enough. It could never be enough. I don't even know how to look at you the same way. I muttered, more to myself than to her. I couldn't bring myself to look at her as I said it, because it felt like if I did, I might break all over again. How do I move past this? How do I trust you again? Victoria's voice broke as she stepped forward, trying to close the distance. Malcolm, I'm so sorry. I know I've ruined everything, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to try. I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. But the truth was, I didn't know if I could ever fix this. What kind of marriage could survive something like this? Could I really trust her again after what I'd learned? Her words, her apologies, felt like nothing more than a patch on a gaping wound. They didn't heal it. They didn't make the pain go away. They just reminded me that I had been a fool, living in a lie. I stood there, caught between the love I had for her and the man I didn't recognize anymore. The man who was betrayed, humiliated, and unsure of everything he thought was real. Maybe I just need time to think, I said finally, my voice softer now. But even as I said it, I knew that time wouldn't change anything. Not the way I felt, and certainly not the way she had made me feel. Victoria nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks, but she didn't say anything more. She knew, deep down, that there was nothing left to say. And that was the worst part. I didn't want to walk away from her, but I didn't know how to stay either. The love I had for her was still there, but it was tangled with the anger, the betrayal, and the fear of losing myself in the process. I turned toward the door, taking one last glance at her as I left. She was still standing there, motionless, her hands clasped together in a silent plea for me to come back. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed space. I needed to figure out what came next. But deep down, I knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same again. I left the house that night, and I didn't know if I was ever coming back. I didn't sleep that night. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts I couldn't control. I kept thinking about her. Victoria, the woman I thought I knew. Every image of her I had was now tainted with the knowledge of her betrayal. I had gone to bed angry, hurt, and lost. But as the hours dragged on, I felt something else creeping in. Emptiness. A hollow space where everything I had believed in had been ripped away. The next morning, I didn't feel like myself. I stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours, wondering what to do, what came next. I thought about confronting her again, but what would that even look like? Could we fix this? Was there anything left to fix? I dragged myself out of bed and forced myself to shower, but every minute felt like it was dragging. The quiet in the house was suffocating. No laughter, no chatter. Just the cold silence of the space that used to feel like home. When I finally left the house, it wasn't to go to work. It wasn't to do anything. It was just to escape. I drove aimlessly, trying to drown out the noise in my head. I needed answers, but I didn't even know what the question was anymore. All I knew was that I couldn't go back home. Not yet. Hours passed before I found myself parked outside a cafe, staring blankly at the busy street. I wanted to feel angry, but all I felt was exhaustion. I didn't even know how to begin to process what had happened. How could she have done this to us? To me? I pulled out my phone, the screen lighting up with a message. It was from Victoria. "Malcolm, I know I messed up. Please just talk to me. Please." I stared at the message for what felt like an eternity. What was there to say? Could I even forgive her? Could I even face her again after everything? I tossed my phone on the passenger seat and sat back in the car, closing my eyes for a moment. I didn't want to think about her right now, but her words lingered in my mind. Please just talk to me. But the truth was, I wasn't sure what to say to her. How could I express the hurt I was feeling, the betrayal that weighed on my chest like a stone? I needed more time, more space. I needed to figure out what I wanted. As I drove back home later that afternoon, the reality of it all settled in. The house felt colder when I entered, like a place that no longer belonged to me. I wanted to scream, to smash something, but instead, I just stood there at the door, frozen. Victoria was sitting on the couch, her eyes red from crying. The moment I stepped inside, she looked up, her face a mix of hope and fear. "Malcolm," she whispered, as if she was afraid to speak too loud. I didn't say anything at first. I couldn't. I just stood there, trying to keep myself composed. Finally, I exhaled, my voice thick with frustration. "You don't get to just beg me to talk, Victoria. Not like this." Her face fell, and she stood up slowly, hands trembling. "I know I've lost you," she said, her voice cracking. "But I swear, I never meant to hurt you. I don't know how to make it right. But I'll do anything if you'll let me." I couldn't look at her. I couldn't bring myself to see the woman who had broken me. "I don't know what you expect me to say," I muttered. "I don't even know if I can trust you anymore." The weight of the words felt like they were crushing me, but they were true. How could I trust her again? How could I look at her and believe anything she said after everything that had happened? Victoria took a shaky breath, stepping closer. "I know I've ruined everything, but I'm begging you, please don't give up on us." I met her gaze for the first time since I'd walked in. I could see the pain in her eyes. She was broken, too. But that didn't make what she had done any less painful. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Victoria. Not yet," And with that, I turned away, retreating to the other room. I needed time. More than anything, I needed time to figure out what I wanted, to figure out who I even was in this mess. But what I couldn't escape was the emptiness. It was consuming me. Everything felt hollow. And no matter what I did, I couldn't escape the fact that my whole world had just crumbled. Days passed, but the tension in the house never eased. Victoria had given me space, but that didn't make things any easier. The silence between us was suffocating. Each room felt like a reminder of everything we had lost. I was constantly torn between the anger that churned in my stomach and the lingering love that refused to die, even though I wanted it to. I kept asking myself the same questions. What now? Do I want to fix this? Can I fix this? One night, after a long, agonizing day of doing everything but dealing with the situation, I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the cold coffee cup in front of me. The ticking of the clock in the background seemed louder than usual, like it was counting down to something inevitable. The stillness was only interrupted by the faint sound of Victoria moving around upstairs, the quiet creak of floorboards beneath her steps. She hadn't left the house, hadn't gone anywhere. I couldn't bring myself to leave either. But we were both stuck in this limbo, neither of us knowing what the next step should be. Finally, unable to stay in the silence any longer, I stood up and went upstairs to find her. She was in our bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, her hands folded in her lap. She looked so small, so fragile. It wasn't the same confident woman I had known, the woman who had once been full of life and laughter. "Victoria," I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked up, her eyes red, as if she had been crying again. Her lips trembled when she spoke. "I know this is hard, Malcolm. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to understand why." I felt my chest tighten. Understand why? After everything? You expect me to understand this? The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. But the hurt was too much. The lies, the deceit, the knowing that while I was living my life, she was living another one behind my back. She stood up then, her hands reaching out, but I took a step back. I never wanted this to happen. I swear. I was just trying to find something, anything, that could make me feel alive again. I was so empty. I swallowed hard, trying to control the anger rising within me. "So you thought cheating was the answer? You thought sneaking around behind my back was the way to feel alive?" She flinched at my words, but didn't back away. I didn't think it would get this far. I didn't think I'd lose myself. But I did. And I lost you too. The words hit me harder than I expected. I had never seen her like this. So broken, so vulnerable. I wanted to believe her, but a part of me was still raw from everything I had learned. Could I really believe the sincerity in her voice? Could I believe that this wasn't just another lie? "I don't know what to do with this, Victoria," I admitted, my voice low, filled with the weight of uncertainty. "I don't know how to fix something that feels so broken." She took a tentative step forward, but I didn't move. "I'm not asking you to fix it right now. But please, don't give up on me. On us. I'll do anything to prove that I'm still the woman you married." There was a long pause, a moment where I felt the very core of my being split in two. The man who wanted to walk away, who felt betrayed beyond repair, and the man who still loved her, still saw the woman I had married standing before me, pleading for a chance. "I can't promise anything right now," I said, the words coming out as a painful truth. "I need time. Time to figure this out." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'll wait. I'll wait however long it takes." I walked out of the room without saying anything more. I wasn't ready to forgive her, and I didn't know if I ever would be. But for some reason, I wasn't ready to walk away either. Not yet. The glimmer of truth she had given me, that she was willing to wait, to try, was a spark. A spark I wasn't sure would be enough to rekindle everything. But for now, it was all I had. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing at the edge of something I couldn't see clearly yet, but I knew would change everything. I wasn't sure where it would take me, but I knew one thing. I wasn't alone in this anymore. Neither of us were. Time passed, but the tension between Victoria and me didn't just fade away. It lingered, thick in the air, like an unspoken truth that neither of us could escape. There were moments when I thought maybe we could salvage what was left, that perhaps forgiveness was something I could work toward. But every time I looked at her, I saw the woman who had betrayed me. Every time she reached for my hand, I felt the weight of her lies. And then, one day, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. I realized something. I wasn't just holding on to the past for the sake of some fleeting hope of reconciliation. I was holding on to the version of her I once knew, the version that no longer existed. The woman I had loved was gone, replaced by someone who had thrown everything away for a fleeting moment of passion. I wasn't angry anymore. I had been, at first, consumed by it. But now, I just felt empty. No rage, no tears. Just an overwhelming sense of finality. That afternoon, I told her. "Victoria," I said, sitting her down in the living room, my voice steady but cold. "I think it's time for us to face the truth. We're done." Her face turned pale, and for a moment, she looked like she was about to say something, beg, apologize again, but I raised my hand to stop her. "Don't. I can't keep living like this. I can't keep pretending. This, whatever this is, it's over." I saw the panic in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy. Just the heavy burden of acceptance. The woman who had once meant everything to me now felt like a stranger. "I know I've messed up," she said, her voice trembling. "I never meant to lose you, Malcolm. Please, give me another chance. I'll do anything. I'll make it right." But I shook my head. "It's too late for that. You've already made your choices. And so have I." She looked at me with desperation, her eyes filling with tears, but I didn't flinch. I had no sympathy left. What she had done to me, to us, was unforgivable. As she sat there, speechless, I stood up and walked away. This was it. There was no going back. I had given her enough chances, enough time to prove herself, but she never did. The next week, I moved out. I found a new place, small, but it felt like freedom. Peace. No more lies. No more pretending. The day I left, Victoria texted me, begging me to come back. She even promised to get counseling, to change. But by then, I had already made my peace with my decision. There was no going back. A few months later, I heard through mutual friends that she and Adam had gotten serious. It wasn't the happy ending she had hoped for. Adam wasn't the man she thought he was. He wasn't the knight in shining armor she had dreamed of. She soon found herself caught up in another web of lies, this time one she couldn't escape from. The karma was inevitable. Adam had been as dishonest as she had been. In the end, he left her when he found someone else, someone younger, someone who hadn't been tainted by his lies. Victoria was left alone, just like she had left me. Only now she had to face the consequences of her actions without anyone to catch her fall. I had moved on. Life had gotten better. I had found peace in my solitude. Slowly, I started to trust again. It wasn't easy, but it was possible. The pain Victoria caused me would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I didn't need revenge. Life had a way of balancing things out. In the end, she got what she deserved. And me? I found happiness in the places I least expected. I learned that no matter how deep the hurt, there's always room for healing. And that's exactly what I did, healed. The past was behind me. And for the first time in a long time, I was finally free.